This morning, I'm kind of reminded of the early 1990s when Al Gore gave me a call. And he said, Randy, there's going to be an internet. I've invented this thing called the internet, and it's just a matter of time. It's going to be coming out pretty quick. And I'd recommend that you figure out how to get yourself a website and also what kind of applications might be coming out of this crazy new world that's going to develop around the internet. So I think we're on the verge of that. I'll be talking more about that in a minute with regard to things that are going on at Tesla, but also things that are going on in Nvidia that I think are going to be absolutely mind-boggling. And there's lots of opportunity out there. You might be young enough or just excited enough, even in your middle years, to take advantage of what's coming down the road. So let's start off with China numbers this morning. Tesla China posted 12,000 insured registrations for the week, according to Gary Black. With 2 weeks left in first quarter, Tesla insured registrations are 102,000. That is a negative 25% quarter on quarter and almost 4% year over year negative. To avoid showing negative year over year first quarter growth, Tesla China has to average 17,500 insured registrations the last 2 weeks of the quarter, which seems difficult. Now, what Gary doesn't say is, of course, this may be that we have a lot of cars that are being exported, and I haven't really looked recently at Troy Teslaike's numbers to see what he's showing in terms of ships at sea, etc. And nobody seems to be talking about it. It just doesn't seem to be on anybody's radar right now. Maybe because people are looking at so many other things like full self-driving. Okay, then from AJ. This is very interesting. AJ goes as ALOJOH. I'm probably not going to continue to say that over and over again. A lot of good data, a lot of good ideas coming out of AJ's postings. Quarter one wasn't very impressive. According to some folks, and then AJ says that he disagrees. It ignores the current situation of the global auto industry. Listen to this. He says, I track the key metrics of the top 34 global automakers for which regulatory filings are available. I can see in the numbers the enormous pressure on the global auto industry is currently under. In fact, the only quarter in recent history worse than the present was quarter two of 2020, which was the first full quarter feeling the blow of the pandemic. For this reason, any automaker which maintains sales while retaining meaningful profitability and free cash flow positively deserves my utmost respect, unless they try to cheat by dialing back investments. Global auto is awash with price cuts, discounts, incentives, and a plethora of new vehicle launches. I say plethora, you say anyway. The current competitive pressure is unsustainable. For this reason, I expect, as we've been saying for several quarters, we will see further retrenchments and more cooperations being announced. Okay, so there you go. The auto industry is under a tremendous amount of pressure. It was only a few weeks ago that all of the automakers, Ford, General Motors, were all out talking about really good SARs for 2024. But all of a sudden, what are we looking at here? Okay, we'll see what happens. Elon Musk says this morning, there will be this is according to, he's replying to Holmar's blog, rather. There will be 3 significant improvements to FSD rolling out roughly every 2 weeks. Now, that's a little bit of an odd statement. So does that mean we'll have 3 significant improvements every 2 weeks? In other words, that's what it says literally. It would be, okay, every 2 weeks, there will be 3. So for the next, so there'll be 3 and then 6 and then 9 and then 12. Anyway, it's kind of an odd way to say it. Should be really shining bright by late April or early May. So 4 to 6 weeks from now, we should be seeing some significant improvements, I guess, in FSD. Very interesting. Look, huge news out of Nvidia yesterday. If you haven't seen their keynote address, you can easily find it on YouTube. Just look up Nvidia keynote. Huge news. As they announce all kinds of new partnerships, new tools, and new products. The announcement included discussions about intelligent factories. Oh, where do intelligent factories, really, and warehouses, where you can actually talk to the warehouse or to the factory like you would a robot. Now, that's a little bit interesting. I have to admit, it perked up my ears and made my eyes roll back in my head, or my eyes open up a little bit. But that's what Tesla does now. They've been doing this for years and years and years. Now, they may not physically, literally shout at a microphone somewhere in the factory and say, hey, factory, what's happening over on row 3? And they may not even do that into their computer or into their cell phone. But what they are doing is they are running, the factories are, they're considered to be one entity. And so this is not new, okay? But it is new. It is actually new to hear anybody but Tesla talking about it. You have, lots of a lot of talk, but no action. Tesla being years and years ahead. Now, according to Nvidia, now they've got a lot of their partners that are talking about doing something like that. We'll see what happens, because it's a lot easier to talk to somebody about making those kind of switches and then actually getting them to do them. Ask Joe Justice. He'll tell you that it's not very easy. Anyway, it talked about everything in the factory having a digital twin. Okay, really? Well, we know that every single Tesla automobile made has a digital twin. What they're suggesting, of course, is that each major robot inside the factory, now I guess every robot and every oven and everything in the robot would have a digital twin. Building a warehouse would mean that you would, building a warehouse or a manufacturing facility would mean that you would have a digital twin created before you ever did that. And then those digital twins would be able to actually be operational within they call it the Nvidia inverse or something. I forget what they called it. Anyway, so you could just have your factory actually operating in data before you ever start building it, make sure everything works. Now, listen, this is not terribly new. If you've ever laid out a factory or a warehouse, and I've laid out a bunch of them, you just did the same thing in analog. I mean, you knew where every single piece of equipment was going to go. You knew exactly what its capacity was. You laid out the way that traffic would move around those things in order to make it efficient from one station to the next station. You also had to do all that, so you knew where to put the plumbing, where to put the air compressor hoses and the plumbing for air compressors, where to put the electricity, what kind of electricity you needed for each, all that had to be done in advance. This is not breakthrough, except for the idea that you could then kind of run the factory, so to speak, digitally before you ever set it up. It sounds like a significant advantage. And then as you're setting it up, you could be running testing against that. So it sounds a little bit like what Tesla's been doing with cars. And maybe Tesla's already doing this with the factory. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Then the digital twins and the digital robots and the workers could be doing their jobs in simulations to make sure the setup is right. This is what Scott Walter has been doing for companies. But again, this appears to be on another level. Now, Scott will be here tomorrow. We've got a lot to talk to Scott about tomorrow. That show tomorrow afternoon is going to be amazing. Nvidia also showed their expectations with regard to every moving object being a robot, and specifically showed their contribution to robotic humanoids and cars. They spent a lot of time on humanoids and cars because they're working with like 9 or 10 different humanoid robot companies and with a bunch of different car companies with their chip that's going to go in the car or go in the robot, which probably isn't anywhere close to being as sophisticated as Tesla's, but at least is giving these guys a chance. I'm thinking, and everybody on, I saw some postings yesterday, in particular from Jeff Lutz and others, talking about these companies should be talking to Tesla, not to Nvidia, about the chip that they need for their robots and for their cars. Anyway, we'll discuss this with Jeff Lutz. We'll discuss it tonight with Nicholas Gibbs, because Nicholas Gibbs also knows a lot about this process, the whole idea of applications of forward-thinking computerization. Anyway, but Nvidia stock was down this morning. Last time I looked, it's down a lot, like 25 points. I don't follow Nvidia stock closely enough to know why it's down, other than maybe selling on the news. The conference sounds like a great conference, a 3-day conference, kind of an Apple-esque kind of conference with a lot of their partners in giving speeches and also putting up booths and things like that. Anyway, one more thought. If you're interested in robotics, if you're interested in the future, if you're interested in maybe getting involved in a factory or getting involved in a new business in the future, or you know somebody who is, or maybe some young people that are wondering what to do with their lives, this is going to be, I'm just telling you, I'm 100% certain this is going to be a massive new opportunity. Everything is going to be roboticized. I've already been watching videos where the tractors are being roboticized. Lawnmowers. I saw a video this morning where a trimmer, a lawn edger and trimmer was being roboticized. Everything is going to be roboticized, okay? So this is going to be a massive, massive, massive new industry, almost like all of the apps that came off of the internet, in the 1990s. It's going to just be massive. And will there be failures? Of course, there's going to be hits and misses. But maybe you or somebody you know should be heading in this direction for a career. All right. Now, remember to hit notify, because I just gave you 3 or 4 reasons why you want to make sure. Nicholas Gibbs later today. Oh, yeah, we've got the second video with Brian White, always on Tuesday. We got Brian on Tuesday. Yeah, what did we talk about? I don't even remember. So much going on right now. It's just driving me crazy. Anyway, and then there's a link below if you want to join Patreon. Thank you to Shashadri and Claire for becoming Patreon members the last couple of days. You guys need to help out Shashadri and Claire. They can't do it all by themselves. I need more folks to come in and support the channel. We want to spend some more money on some things that'll help the channel get even better. And it would be great if I could get, like about 20 people to come in at the $3 level, maybe 10 at the $10. That would be a big help. I mean, $100 a month is not a lot of money, but there's a couple of things I'd like to buy that I'd rather you guys help me buy. All right. Market Watch says that construction of new U.S. homes rebounded to 10.7% in February to an annual pace of 1.52 million units. That is the biggest gain in 9 months. Now, despite the increase, starts are still below December's level. So you see what happened was there was a big decrease in January, which surprised me and everybody else. Now that's popped back. So you're looking at a big increase, but overall, you're not back to December's levels. Economists on Wall Street were expecting a 7.4% rise. So this is better than that. And by the way, these numbers are seasonally adjusted. Now, the number of housing starts in January was revised slightly higher to a drop of only 12.3. So it was 12.3 down and then 9%. Anyway, you get my point. Building permits, a sign of future construction, rose 1.9% to 1.52 million rate. And that's the highest level since August. But still, I would expect I would expect this to do even better. I've repeated this over and over, not once, not twice, but maybe 100 times, maybe not 100. Okay. The housing market is 20% of the total business in the United States. Now that's the building of the houses, that's refitting of houses, that's building of apartments, that is people moving into apartment, that's mortgage lenders, that is real estate agents, and that is after you move in, you got to buy the new refrigerator and put in the new lawn. There's a huge business, 20% of the overall U.S. market. So if housing gets started again, that could really, really help us with regard to where we are right now in this recession or not recession, or so it could change my mind if we really start to see. But it's going to take a while for this housing to get in place. The permits are being filed now, but it takes a while before you see it. So since I started, we have seen a drop-off, I'm going to guess, in the overall market. We have got Tesla down 515, the NASDAQ down 116, S&P down 12, and the Dow Jones up 39. That's interesting. But Tesla's drop seems to be true for, well, no, it's all over the place right now. So Tesla dropped maybe there's news I don't know about, or maybe there is just a big player that made that move happen. We'll see in a minute. We'll come back to it in a second and see if it holds. But it was down about 2 to 3. Now it's down 5. We have got the Magnificent Seven completely mixed. But like, for instance, Meta down 11 and Nvidia down 25. The rest up marginally. Everybody else, the others are up. Well, Google again, it's down. Apple like up 59. So very mixed story this morning with the Magnificent Seven. We have all of the Cathie Woods down again, which is unusual because I think we're going to find out that the bonds are rallying this morning, meaning that the interest rates are down. But we'll take a look at that in a second. I do want to give you guys the percentages because some of you like that. So we've got the Dow up 16.16%, NASDAQ down 0.65%, S&P down 0.2%, and Tesla down 2.86%, giving up, some of those gains from yesterday. So we'll see what that looks like. Again, we'll take another look in a minute to see if that's still the case. All right, now let's look at those bonds. Yes, so the bonds, just double checking to make sure it doesn't change on me here because sometimes it does. All right, we've got the bonds down down 3 basis points this morning. So that would typically mean that Cathie Woods would be up. So you see, you cannot predict anything for certain. So that's a pretty strong move on the part of the bonds, down 3 basis points. Now that's going into the Fed meeting today, and then tomorrow they'll make their announcement. They meet 2 days, and then tomorrow they make their announcement, and then Chairman Powell speaks tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, and of course we'll be covering all of that tomorrow. We've got the rest of the long bonds are down even more than the 10-year, so that's interesting. That shrinks that inversion a little bit, but the 2-month is actually positive this morning, not catching up with all of this. So that puts, but it's still that 110 roughly basis points difference. It's been more than that. The 2-year and the 3, see, that's a little bit under 4 now on the under 40, the inversion between the 2-year and the 10-year is under 40 now. So that's shrinking the inversion just a bit. Will there be a recession? I don't know. I'm still 65-35, but I could be convinced to move in either direction as the data starts to come out. We'll start to see data that will probably give us a lot more information over the next 2 weeks. Okay, let's see here. We have got the rest of the news coming up here. We've got oil. Oil is up another 29 cents at 83. Brent up about the same amount. They are now split by about that same $4.20. So we're still seeing the headline here is the Russia crude oil rally stalls near 4-month high as Russia pledges to boost exports. Interesting. And yet the market is still up. Very interesting. Okay. The dollar is up extremely strong. The yen is falling, even though the Japanese raised interest rates for the first time, I forget, in 12 or 15, a long, long time. But they only raised it a teeny bit, but people thought that money would move into the yen as a result. That is not happening. Instead, the yen is down and the dollar is up, but the dollar is up against the basket of currencies, the basket of 6 currencies that you normally look at for this particular subject. Then gold is down $9, down to $21.54. That's down around, my recollection, that's down around 25 from its high of last week. You got silver also down this morning. You got copper sitting, also down a full percent, over 1% at $4.07 roughly. Looking like, hey, it could go back down under $4 again. That would be a recessionary trend. Now we got Bitcoin down 3,775 to 63,393 from 73 last week. That's like 13% down. That is a significant move on the part of the Bitcoin. Yeah. All right. Let's go back and take a look at Tesla again to see if that was a trend or if it's continuing. Yes, still at $5.23 negative. eating up half of that $10.20-30 from yesterday. And again, no real indication of why. I'll put it in, if I go back and I see something specific, I will put it in the first comment and pin it so that you can take a look and see if there was some reason for this, or if it's just, somebody taking profits from yesterday, because that was a big run up yesterday. All right. So be reminded, yesterday I did a video with Brian White, and we took a look at some really cool stuff. I'm telling you, my brain is completely fried right now because of all the stuff with Nvidia and everything that's happened this morning. It's really caused me to have a little brain fog about what Brian and I did. But I will tell you, as always, the show we did yesterday, Brian and I, it was a really good one. I remember that we felt really good about it at the end. So you might want to go take a look at that. And Brian will be back later today, along with Nicholas Gibbs in the late afternoon, where we will talk about Nvidia again. We will talk about a lot of stuff. This is going to be right in Nicholas Gibbs' wheelhouse. You're going to want to check that out. So hit notify. In order to hit notify, you have to be subscribed. And if you want to be subscribed and you're already in the neighborhood, why don't you hit the like button and then join Patreon. Join Patreon. We need 10 $3 members, or we need 20 $3 members, or we need 10 $10 members, or something in between, maybe some $5 members in there as well. All right, that's it. Let's get on with the work of the day. It's been great talking to you.